Extra Time on Tip FM is brought to you by Irish Computers Nina, your winning IT partner across the Premier County and beyond. See irishcomputers.ie.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening. Our text number is open to you now. 083 311 3311. That number works for WhatsApp messages as well. 083 311 3311. We're also on Blue Sky. Our Blue Sky handle is Extra Time at bsky.social. So please get in touch if there's any thoughts you have on the weekend sporting action. So much sport this weekend. We'll try and cover as much of it as we can over the course of the next 55 minutes or so. Don't forget the Tip FM Sports Star of the Month award. We're midway through the month of November, but if you've seen anything this month that you think is worthy of a nomination, send that nomination to sportstar@tipfm.com. That's sportstar@tipfm.com. That's in association with the Talbot Hotel in Clonmel and Quirk Trophies Limited in Care. Just one last reminder of our text number 083 311 3311. We'll start with hurling tonight. Loughmore Castleiney's venture into the Munster Senior Club Championship came to a shuddering end really after extra time. It finished Eire Og Ennis 220. Loughmore Castleiney 116 after extra time. That game took place in 6 Mile Bridge after the Cusack Park in Ennis was deemed unplayable. We will hear from Ken Hogan in just a few moments, but before we do, let's hear from the Loughmore Castleiney manager Eamon Kelly. He spoke to Paul Carroll at the end of extra time.
Listen, I think Eire Og were good value for their win in extra time. They were a ferociously hard-working team, and that we probably had chances in normal time. Maybe we missed a couple of scores there to other days we might have got, but they put us under savage pressure right from the very start. You know, they're a very, very good side.
The game itself, in that second half, it was tit for tat the whole way through. You had a period in that second half where I think there was 3 or 4 wides in a row. Yeah. On a day like today, you know, any chances were limited. That was kind of the difference really in the end, just those 1 or 2 shots. Yeah,
I think we had 8 or 9 wides in the second half, and you need 1 or 2 of them. There was only always a point in it either way, and I you know, but listen, that's the way that the cookie crumbles. Sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. I'm gutted for the lads. I'd just love to have got to a Munster final and see where it would have taken us, but listen, you'd have to say that you have to give credit to Eire Og. They were very good value for their win, a very honest, hard-working team, and they'll be a match for anybody.
The day itself, we're here talking outside the dressing rooms in 6 Mile Bridge, not where you expected to be. It was meant to be on in Cusack Park, and I suppose for both teams it kind of throws off maybe the routine you had planned out for the day.
Yeah, it was difficult on us. We were in Dura Bearfield that rubbing started at 11 o'clock this morning, and listen, it knocks it off a bit. It wasn't an excuse, you know. It's just it's an unfortunate situation that happened out of everybody's control, and there certainly is. It's not any excuse from our side anyway. You know, I think our performance was okay, other than some of the wides we had. So I don't think it would be remiss to say that it was had any factor in the game.
That's Loughmore Castleiney manager Eamon Kelly speaking to Paul Carroll at the full-time whistle in 6 Mile Bridge yesterday. Ken Hogan's on the line. Good evening to you, Ken.
Good evening. How are you keeping rolling?
Good, sir, and good talking to you. Your thoughts on yesterday, and Loughmore Castleiney will wake up with some regrets this morning, I'm sure.
Yeah, strange circumstances, really, Rowan. First of all, we were all heading for obviously Ennis, and I got the call from Paul Carroll that the game had been changed to 6 Mile Bridge because of burst water remains in Ennis town. So we were very aware of the fact that obviously Loughmore Castleiney were in Dora Bearfield, as Eamon Kelly mentioned there. Eamon has been very sporting, to be fair, and saying that obviously he wasn't using it as an excuse, but it did change circumstances really for Loughmore Castleiney. There was a lot of people took the train to Ennis as well, by the way, Ronan. And we're stranded in Ennis as well. So, to be fair to 6 Mile Bridge GA Club, they got late notice. There was a game on the Saturday in 6 Mile Bridge. There was a game that morning in 6 Mile Bridge. They actually cut the grass before the game. Definitely the pitch wasn't as good as you would expect for a Munster Club Championship clash. You know, and I think Munster Council can be very thankful to Loughmore Castleiney that they fulfilled the fixture. You know, that's the club they are, that's the people they are, because...
Well, it wasn't really in their...
They could easily pack their bags and head it home, you know.
Would they have any... There would have been repercussions if they'd done that, I'd have thought. I mean, were they entitled to pack their bags and head for home?
Well, I would feel that, obviously, circumstances... you can imagine if Eire Og Ennis had to come to Thurles and the game was...
If the game was switched to Templemore, I would imagine most teams would go.
Or Temple 2 here, somewhere like that. I'm sure they wouldn't be too impressed with it either. It was maybe circumstances out of everybody's control, and fair play to 6 Mile Bridge, they took the game on. But you get rules and regulations, you're told to do this and do that, and abide by this and abide by that. But to be fair to Loughmore Castleiney, that's the club they are. The pitch definitely wasn't up to what you'd expect for Munster Club semi-final standards. But having said that, Eamon has given no excuse. Loughmore Castleiney are a marvellous club. They had the winning of the match definitely in the first half, Ronan, and also the chances they got in the second quarter, in the third quarter, particularly went to begging. They had dominated that stage. Noel McGrath and Kieran Connolly had got on top and at midfield. Shane O'Donnell had been quiet in the first half, so had David Reedy, but then in the second half, as we mentioned on Tip FM, like, there was more space against the breeze, and they made hay when they got that opportunity, you know. So it was just unfortunate for Loughmore Castleiney. They were the better team in the 60 minutes, but there were clear people around us that, you know, at full time saying that this Eire Og group had a very strong panel, and they brought in a number of players who contributed hugely to their victory.
Jerry O'Connor, who was the Eire Og manager, said it was the most physical game I've ever seen. Christy O'Connor, writing in the Examiner today, said it was a brutally hard-hitting contest. Did you get that impression if you were to summarise the match? I know it was hard-hitting. It's Munster Club Championship. It's you know, it's not a tickling contest, but I didn't think it was that hard-hitting. And the most physical game I've ever seen, says Jerry O'Connor.
Yeah, well, conditions made it physical. Conditions really made it physical, particularly at the stand side where the teams came out there. Lorcan Egan got injured early on in the game. You know, the pitch definitely militated against that. To be fair to both sides, they were very tough, very in earnest. You know, Liam McGrath took a heavy knock. You know, obviously the Eire Og Ennis goalkeeper and all the full back line and the centre back received yellow cards. There was nothing untoward in it, but having said that, they knew that John McGrath was a danger man. He did get attention, not in a very dirty way or anything like that, but the fact that they were well able to play the situation of the third man tackle, move out in front of the players. It slowed down the game, Ronan, in a big way, and that meant it was really physical and tough. And Jerry O'Connor has great pedigree, a very good coach, and Eire Og, a very professional outfit. They were delighted to beat Loughmore Castleiney. They were high regard from. But to be fair, it was a game of attrition. Definitely a game of attrition.
So essentially, it boils down to an arm wrestle, and on a bad pitch. Two things that the last thing Loughmore Castleiney probably wanted was an arm wrestle on a bad pitch.
With the type of player they have, particularly Noel, Liam McGrath,
Connolly's,
and also the Connollys, the wing forwards up front, Kieran McCormack and those guys. You take what they were playing on for the last number of games. Simple Stadium in Thurles, you know, for the semi-final and finals, playing on good pitches with beautifully manicured pitches. So Upperchurch had that advantage yesterday in Thurles as well. Stephen Beeson noted how good the pitch was after all the rain. So you had the circumstances where it did militate against fluent hurling. I'm sure Eire Og Ennis would say in their favour that they would love to have been playing in Cusack Park as well. And it was just a combination of circumstances, and I just felt that it took its toll on the legs of Loughmore. It took its toll in a big way. And no more than Loughmore will be familiar with Cashel or Nina. I'm sure Eire Og are very familiar with 6 Mile Bridge being the second pitch in Clare, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. Just on the 60 minutes, my own viewing of it suggested that Loughmore would probably be disappointed not to have won it on 60 minutes. Did you get a sense that when it went into additional extra time that perhaps the pendulum had swung towards Ennis?
I think everybody got that sense, Ronan. Your gut tells you, and the body language I felt of Eire Og Ennis to get that. Like, to be fair to Danny Russell, he gave an absolute exhibition of striking yesterday, free taking. He was absolutely brilliant, 114, you know. But the points he scored under serious pressure against the breeze in the second half were absolutely unbelievable, you know. And that last point, you know, David really manufactured it out on the sideline. It was a tough read to take, and I felt, and I think in fairness to all the followers, neutral, and they felt that Loughmore were a little bit better in the 60 minutes. But once Ennis got that second wind, their tails were up, and their subs, you know, Thomas Kavanagh and these guys played havoc. Rian Mulcahy, they came on and they looked so fit and vibrant and physical, and they flew around the pitch, and it meant that Loughmore were struggling for air.
It's another journey into Munster that hasn't gone the way Loughmore would have wanted it. They have won one Munster senior club title in their history. It was a long time ago now. I think Noel was just 16 when they won that. So there's a lot of that, most in fact, of that Loughmore team haven't tasted provincial success. Should we be worried in Tip that our clubs tend to do fairly poorly at provincial level, or is it something that we shouldn't worry about because our senior inter-county team are going well?
I don't think it's something that we should worry about. Obviously, and even, you know, every club team in any county acknowledges to win the county championship, you know, is the aim. Is
That's
the goal.
what it's all about, yeah. Unless you're Ballygunner, I don't think they get very excited about the Waterford Senior Football Hurling Championship at this stage. No. But that's an exception.
Yeah, and Ballygunner are an exception to the rule. I don't think so. I think we have played an awful lot of away games as well. I think it's something. Every game we seem to be away as well. However it pans out. We also have a very exacting championship. It's a 16 club team championship. It's very tough to win it. I think other counties, including Clare, would have the benefit maybe of a 10-12 club championship where it's not as exacting. So from that point of view, I wouldn't be overly concerned. I think Tipperary hurling is... I think people would be very envious of Tipperary hurling at the moment, under 20 and female.
I was about to add our underage as well, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Dan Breen is very healthy. I think it's a tough championship. The Dan Breen's a tough championship, and it's a huge privilege for Loughmore to be county senior championships. They are disappointed. They are hurting. Of course they are hurting. But in the circumstances and the way things happened yesterday, it was just a pity to win to extra time, that whichever team would have finished it on the hour would have gone through. But in extra time, the legs militated against Loughmore. Eire Og were the fresher team, the fitter team, the hungrier team, and that's the way it panned out. So your assessment is very good, Rowan, the fact that everybody's gut felt Loughmore in bother here for extra time period. Well,
when you see Loughmore outscored in the second period of extra time 1-3 to no score, that in itself tells you something about the way the game panned out. But they will, I'm sure, have regrets when they wake up this morning about not putting that game away in normal time, the 60 minutes. But look, that's sport, isn't it? I mean, lots of people wake up on Monday mornings with regrets.
Well, it's very, you saw the high scoring game on a good pitch in Walsh Park. You saw the Leinster Club games last week, Ballyhale Shamrocks in Nolan Park. scoring 26 points. You saw the scoreline at full time yesterday in 6 Mile Bridge, 113 each. And that was genuinely, in fairness to both teams, that was genuinely because of the pitch conditions. It was really a game of attrition, a very tough game. And it didn't, the forwards didn't get that opportunity to get the space to pay a dividend. So from that perspective, I think, to be fair to Loughmore, they have no excuses. Eamon gave no excuses there. They're a proud club and they have had a brilliant year.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Breen sitting on the sideboard for the next 9 months. They'll be happy with that. As always, Ken, it's always a pleasure. I think we might tease out I think we've won the All-Ireland Club Championship on 3 occasions. The last time was Bobby Ryan's Byrnes back in 1987. It's been a while, like.
It has been a while, and Roscrea were the first ever team to win it.
They were. And in fairness, Byrnes got to a final against Ballyhale a couple of years ago. But I suppose you'd have to say, as a county with so many excellent clubs, 16 excellent clubs competing at the senior level, it's something we might look back on at some stage and reflect on as to why we just haven't succeeded. But you know what? I wouldn't swap places with many counties at the moment with their underage and our senior success. I got to fly, Ken. It's always good talking to you, my friend.
And well done to Upperchurch as well.
Oh, I'm coming back. Don't you worry. I will be coming back to Upperchurch as well. If I'm not talking to you this time between now and the 25th of December, I hope you have happy holidays, my friend, and happy Christmas.
Well, we have to follow the church now anyway.
We will. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk soon, Ken. Thanks for that. Take care. Good luck.
Cheers,
Sloan. Ken Hogan joining us there. I'm going to go to Clonmel commercials, but don't worry, I will be going back to Upperchurch Drumban next. But let's turn our attention to commercials who competed against St Finbarrs in the semi-final of the Munster Senior Football Club Championship. That took place on Saturday afternoon. Tommy Morrissey spoke to Paul Carroll after the full-time whistle.
Yeah, great. As you said, a great game of football. Two teams going at it, hammer and tongs, and probably the biggest disappointment right now, Paul, the thing I'm thinking about is just after half time we dropped a few short and into the keeper's hands, and at this level you have to be more clinical. And ultimately, as the game went on, I know we went ahead after a goal by 2 points, but made a silly decision then up on the sideline and got a free brought in for a 2-pointer. Those little things, when you're playing against players of that calibre like Sherlock, you're going to get punished. So at one end we weren't clinical enough, at the far end they are clinical, and ultimately that ended up being the difference. Yeah, that moment on the sideline, I think it was Ross Flattery got yellow carded. We didn't see it on commentary at the time, but that was a big moment because that free was brought forward. What happened at that period? He seems to have disputed with the referee and on the decision, and the minute he did, the referee brought it forward in, which obviously he's quite entitled to do, and Sherlock opts to take a 2-pointer and kicks it. So instead of it being a sideline and we're able to press up on them, it ends up being a free shot for them, which again you get punished with at this level, and it was at a key moment. No, it wasn't the decisive factor in the game, far from it, but I think then we started to chase the game, Paul. And it was a point, you were a point up at the time and then you went to a point down. Exactly, and then gaps appeared in our defence and we were trying to get forward, and they picked off another couple of scores with deep runners, and to be fair, their big players turned up in that last few minutes when they needed fellas to get on the ball. So that's Finbarrs are an extremely good side. They'll go deep into this competition and possibly into the next competition in terms of the All-Ireland series. So they're a fine side. There's no shame obviously in losing. It's just disappointing because I felt we were the better side on the day, just again not clinical enough where we needed to be up top. Yeah, I sense that's why the disappointment is so strong, because the lads played so well. The 2 goals were really well worked, had a couple of goal chances at the end with, who knows, a few heroic blocks from the St Finbarrs lads, but the lads played so well, and it just those 1 or 2 things that you mentioned, that was the difference. Exactly, yeah, that's it, exactly it, Paul. Small margins, I don't have the exact stats, but I know we were close on 30 shots in comparison to them. I think they were shy of 20, and that proves it. Their accuracy must have been very high in terms of 70 to 80%, whereas then we're probably more somewhere between 50 to 60, and that's the difference. It's having that accuracy at that level that you just punish a team when you get an opportunity up the far end, and we learned that, a hard lesson today, but we learned it.
How would you kind of sum up the last couple of weeks, the response from the lads? Obviously such difficult circumstances, but we mentioned on commentary with Anthony Shelly just how well the club, the players, everyone has kind of handled themselves and carried themselves the last few weeks. I'd imagine it's something that maybe you can look back in time and just be proud of the lads for how they've been the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, I'm extremely proud. I'm always proud of them, I suppose. If it's the way to put it, I'm prouder in terms of how they've conducted themselves in the last 4 weeks. This time 4 weeks ago, our hearts were broken with news we received, and it's going to take a lot of healing. And I suppose, to be honest, the grieving process is probably only going to start from now for a lot of people, because this has kept us together and kept, you know, a bond within the group, and probably tightened us as a group. But in terms of how proud I am with them, Paul, they've been unbelievable. Like, in particular, how they've rallied around the Ryan family and Shane tight within the group. That's so important, and I've told them there now that needs to continue. You know, unfortunately we won't be training this Wednesday night, but as a group we need to stay together. We all just don't disappear and leave things go. We have to be supporting each other now more than ever over the next few months, because it's a very, very tender situation still, and as I said, I believe a lot of the grievance still has to start.
That's Commercials manager Tommy Morrissey speaking very clearly and articulately about what Commercials have been through over the last 6 weeks or so, even less. It was only the month's mind actually this week, would you believe? Anyway, St Finbarrs of Cork 117, Clonmel Commercials 211, and that ends Commercials' venture into the Munster Senior Club Championship. Anthony Shelly saw this one. How are you, Anthony?
Yeah, how are you, Ronan?
Lots of regrets, I'd say, for Commercials when you look at the position they were in coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I heard Tommy. Look, if this is a game that had everything. I heard Tommy saying that it just came down to shot efficiency, and in total, Commercials, if you left out, they had 29 shots at goal. And they only converted 46%, whereas St Finbarrs had 21 shots at goal and converted 71%. And that's really in a game that had absolutely everything. Considering the conditions, it was a game of the highest quality. Credit to both sides. You couldn't take your eyes off it for a moment. It's brilliant football because of the conditions, mistakes, which always makes it exciting as well. Some brilliant scores from both teams. A highlight for me would be young Dara O'Connor scoring a 2-pointer with the outside of his foot. And then, obviously, anytime you can go and you can see Michael Quinlivan operating at his very, very best, that's always a treat to watch. And then you had that dramatic finish, 4 shots at goal in less than 10 seconds. I'd say every single one of them looks to be heading to the net. An outrageous effort from 21 yards from Peter McGarry that was cleared off the line by Brian Hayes, had the keeper beaten, all ends up. Brian Hayes got back, the rebound comes to Jack Kennedy, his effort is blocked. Next up was Coleman, who had his shot smothered by about 5 Finbarrs players, and finally Shawnee Kennedy gets it. It looks to be heading to the corner, and a Finbarrs player just dives across. It looked like it hit him on the hip. And came out. It was the most dramatic finish ever to an absolutely brilliant game.
Look, I mean, you have to analyse where it went wrong, but in the last 3 or 4 minutes, suddenly Finbarrs, who had to give way, I think, at midfield for a lot of the match, stole a few restarts and kicked some 2-pointers, and next thing you know, Commercials are behind. I mean, you've often said coherently on this show about the value of restarts, and if you can steal a few, talk about putting yourself on the front foot.
Yeah, and they had absolutely got cleaned out on restarts. Commercials retained 61% of their own kick out. Finbarrs only won 7 of their 19s. Tommy and the lads done a brilliant job in analysing how they go about dismantling the Finbarrs kick out and winning their own, and it had worked a treat up until, as you say, the last 58 minutes. There was 3 kick-outs in a row, and crucially, Commercials had their hands on them all, but I suppose with the wet conditions, the ball was spilled, and suddenly, which they hadn't been doing all day, Finbarrs picked up the brakes and punished them with 3 points in a row.
It's a good.
It comes down to those fine margins.
Fine margins, absolutely. Charlie McGeever used to always say to me, I don't mind fellas taking shots at goal as long as they kick them dead. And you know where I'm going with this. Those shots that drop into the goalkeeper's hands. You see, the point about, I think Charlie's point was, you know better than me, it's about how you're set up for the immediate counter-attack that come if the ball drops short. You're not set up defensively.
Yeah, no. And look, I suppose, I think they had 4 overall, right, that dropped into the keeper's hands. But like one of them was a free from Jack Kennedy that was from outside the 45. With the underfoot conditions, always hard to, particularly you're a tall player like Jack, to plant that standing foot to get the proper connection on it. That dropped short. There was 1 or 2 others that, again, they were all 2-point efforts. And, Terry's right, they should go dead, but in the conditions, it's probably, forgivable.
Oh, it's eminently understandable, yeah, absolutely.
That they did. And even one of them that dropped short, Joe Higgins had to go for a 1-pointer that dropped short. But Commercials immediately turned the ball over from the keeper, went to hand pass to the full back, and he slipped. So within a second they had another point on the board. So that people count that as a drop short, but it actually ended up in a point.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cancel each other out, I hate using it as an excuse. Yes, it should be lessons to be learned. At least get it dead, but in those conditions, it probably was understandable.
And I'll ask you the same question I asked Ken a few minutes ago. When Commercials wake up this morning, huge regrets on what might have been.
Yeah, huge regrets, and where the big regrets will be. And I think they were probably unlucky on this as well. One unlucky, one maybe a little bit silly was they conceded 4 points from the 50-yard. For will we call it indiscipline? Now, the one immediately within a point up at half time, and immediately from the throw in, Ross Peters gets on the ball. He's pulled for over carrying, and then 50 yards were given for not handing the ball back. But it's very hard to hand the ball back that you don't actually have. Like Ross had dropped the ball, and they picked it up and kind of ran at Ross. They bought that free, and Stephen Sherlock. That's clever. That's what you'd be telling your own team to do. But it's very annoying when it goes against the tip team. And Stephen Sherlock puts over a 2-pointer. And then I think I heard Tommy referencing the line ball. Somebody said something to, it's a line ball in the middle of the field. It was a hard one to see whether it came off a Commercials player or a Finbarrs. But at the end of the day, it's a nothing ball.
Don't turn it into something it isn't. I see your point.
It's brought up 50 yards.
Yeah.
And it's another 2 pointers. Shall we call it indiscipline, 4 points? They lost by 3. That's
the regret. Yeah, I know. But when you think about everything that's happened in the last month, and they have the Tommy Barrett Cup, these are important milestones. They're the top of the roll of honour in Tipperary football. Some of those players have 8 senior titles. I mean, there's a lot to be grateful for from a Commercials point of view. Some regrets, yes, but I hope they reflect on the positives from the year.
And you know what? And I know Tommy might have mentioned it, but the way I just want to add to it, because I've been close enough to the Ryan family and I've seen the way those Commercials players have conducted themselves over the last month, and they would have been very disappointed Saturday night. They would have been out and out late, and Philly's one's mind was on Sunday morning, and every single player turned up for it. For an awful lot of those players around 21, 22 years of age, they're an absolute credit to their club. Yeah,
absolutely. And just as you mentioned their age, I got a text in. Can you please wish my grandson, Cian Smith, a happy 21st birthday? He plays with Clonmel Commercials, says Granny. He's listening to Extra Time. Thank you very much for that. But they are a young team. Happy birthday, Cian. Hope you enjoy it, etc. But they are a young team, and there's a lot of maturity that has been foisted upon them in the last 4 weeks. I got to go.
And what a player that Cian Smith is. She would be very proud granny.
Yes, our grand. It said grandson. I immediately assumed it was a granny rather than a granddad, but maybe I should.
You would imagine.
It's a granny. Okay, I gotta go. Take care, my friend.
Okay,
Sloan, thanks for that. Bye. He's morto now. Anyway, our text number is 083 311 3311. If there's any other grannies out there, please text us in. We're going to go to... we have to go to Upperchurch next. What a great win for them, because Upperchurch Dunban continue in the Munster Championship. I don't know if they were underdogs, but they certainly played with great skill and determination. 2-14 Upperchurch against Ballinhassig's 17 points. Let's hear from their manager, James Greene. He spoke to fellow Upperchurch man Stephen Gleeson at the full-time whistle.
Sure, we're unbelievably delighted, number one, to get to that Munster final. It's probably the furthest an Upperchurch team has got at this level of hurling, and as far as long as I can remember anyway. Look, as a performance, I thought our work rate was unbelievable. Hooks, blocks, tackles, that's what we've built this team on, and I think the honesty they showed there was unreal.
Yeah, you worked your socks off, got an early goal from Pat Ryan, and that really helped set the tone.
Absolutely. Look, goals win games, and they had a fairly top-notch goalie, and we set out to test him. And we told the boys going out they had to turn and hit for goal once they got the ball up there, and that's what they did. And I think we probably left one or two behind as well.
And he hopped that ball off the deck and it bounced up past Patrick Collins, and then was kind of level enough for most of the match then. And in the second half, Paddy Greene got the ball, released Conor Fahy, and he fired it in at the town end in Thurles for another goal, and that was probably the key moment.
That was a turning point probably for us, but look, as we say, you always give the ball to the man in the best position. And Paddy did the right thing. He gave it to Conor. Conor was on, and Conor did the right thing and put it away, and that probably gave us the cushion we needed to drive on home and get the win.
Yeah, and Aaron Ryan, excellent in the middle.
Aaron was up and down the field. He gave us a good performance defending as he did going forward. It's a very honest performance, and look, to win any of these games you need honesty, and that's what the boys showed. They worked to the end, and that's what this is built on. You need honesty.
You would have played a few years, James, with Upperchurch, and you've seen the progression of the club and the team, and the relegation really stung hard a couple of years ago.
It did. Look, that wasn't a fair reflection on the group of lads. Look, they just hit a bit of a dip, a lull in the season, and that's where we ended up, and you just had to rebuild and get back. That was our goal, was to get back up senior, and we've done that. Now we're in a Munster Championship of intermediate hurling. This is something that we've never done before, and we're going to enjoy it and take one match as it comes and see how we go.
Yeah, so you're just looking at it one game at a time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Munster final now against O'Callaghan Mills.
Look, at the end of the day, we're Upperchurch. We're not going to get carried away. We take one game at a time, look after ourselves, and we look, obviously, if to go out now and try and analyse O'Callaghan Mills and see what they're about. But we didn't look past this game, so this is where we are. We're in a Munster Championship final, and it's unreal for the club and that group of players. That's all we want.
Yeah, the players worked really hard, and in fairness to your backroom team, you've got a great backroom team there with the likes of Liam Noonan doing an awful lot of work, Peter Ryan, Katrina Short. They're a lot of the unsung heroes.
Look, there's a great bunch in the backroom there. There's Pat Malachny, works with Kieran in the goals, James McGrath, Liam's Savage man manager, James McGrath, Savage coach. You've Peter Ryan doing his bit. It's a massive effort. People don't really see what goes on in the background, but there's a lot of work goes in here. This didn't happen by chance.
And you're happy to keep this journey going?
100%. We're enjoying every bit of this. This can only get better for us. So we're going to take it and try and win this Munster Championship.
Yeah, you've had a lot of matches this season when you count the football as well, but rather than it being a hindrance, it seems to kind of give the players an endurance. They're kind of like marathon runners almost.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I think football kicked off our year a bit because we got a few wins and it gave the boys confidence and maybe changed their focus a bit rather than hurling all the time. And I think it added to it. And look, we were very close to beating Clonmel and they went on to win the championship.
Yeah, and then this team, has got back with it once, and it feels like kind of the pressure has gone off the players now.
It is, yeah. Look, as we said to them, they're doing it for themselves here now. Look, there was a lot of pressure on us to win an intermediate county final, and look, for me, I think that was a big pressure release for the boys to get back up senior, and now hopefully they can enjoy it.
Yeah, the journey continues outside the county now, probably.
That's it. They're saying Gaelic grounds now in 2 weeks' time, so it's something savage to look forward to for the players and the club. It's great.
James Greene speaking to Stephen Gleeson there. Something savage to look forward to. He's absolutely right, isn't he, John O'Shea?
Yeah, it was a brilliant display yesterday, because they were really up again it in Thurles yesterday, a very, very strong Ballinhassig side, very strong defensively, and I suppose when you analyse the whole lot afterwards, I think that victory yesterday for the Church was probably won by their own defence, if you know what I mean, because they're really, they kept a clean sheet. Any time that Ballinhassig came back at them, they didn't give away a goal, and that was probably that stood to them. Keith Ryan there and at fullback, and Gavin Ryan and Dean Carew,
Yeah, it's interesting because you're picking up on something that James Greene said. He said the work rate of his team is outstanding, and this team was built on hooks and blocks.
It was, yeah, and really solid, I suppose, old-fashioned defending, put it that way, I mean, because now their forwards were up again at because that was a very, very strong defensive unit there with Patrick Collins behind them there for Ballinhassig. They didn't get too many openings there. But I suppose the first goal there after five and a half minutes there was Ballinhassig were in possession and they got turned over by just the tenacity of the Church, and the ball broke kindly for Pat Ryan, and he put it away, but then again Ballinhassig came back at him, and I suppose about 18 minutes there it was level peg and 1-2 to the Church. Ballinhassig 5 points. They exchanged points then, and then the Church went on there in a 5-minute spell. They got 5 points there, including one from Gavin Ryan from probably a good 90 metres free. That put them 5 up, coming up to half time, or with about 3 minutes to half time. But they went in. Ballinhassig came back again at them 3 points, went in at half time, 1-8 to 9 points. First 10 minutes, they missed a free just after half time, the Church, but it didn't set them back as such. Ballinhassig then were back on level terms again on 40 minutes. The Church goes in, hits the next 3 points again, So Ballinhassig were chasing that game all the. They never, while they drew level, I think, on probably 3 occasions or 4 occasions, they never took the lead, and that was, I think, very, very important for. And
you never got a sense that the Church were going to lose it, did you?
No, look, there was always, put it this way, coming down the home straight in the last quarter, the feeling was that if the Church didn't concede a goal, they'd win it, and that's what happened. And they had a knack of getting the vital points. Even when it came down to 3 minutes went up on the clock there, and it was of added time, and at 60 minutes there was 2 points in it. Ballinhassig had it back to 2 points, 2-13 to 17. But then Pat Ryan puts over a sideline cut there from over at the old stand side, 2 minutes and added time. And that sort of meant then that Ballinhassig would need a goal to draw level, if you know what I'm saying. So, but then Ballinhassig had a man send off there on a second yellow. It had no bearing whatsoever on the game. But what it did was it prolonged that all of a sudden the 3 minutes. The 3 minutes of added time turned out to be nearly 5.5, 6. So you know what I mean. The Church had to withstand that again, but they did held out, and it was a real team effort and as I said, I think it was won by their defence, because they're not conceding that much this year now. They probably got a little shaky start to their campaign in Tip. I think they drew the opening game, then they got a win. And I was talking to Liam Dunphy there after the game yesterday, and I mentioned the match in Kilcommon there back in 6th of September. Yeah, he says, don't remind me of
I know, but it's sometimes when you kind of get out of jail and you use your get out of jail card, you can go on a run. And I'm just wondering if Upperchurch Drumbands look, winning is a habit. They're winning. They've won what they wanted to win this year. They've gone up to senior again, and now they're having the time of their lives.
They are, and like, you know, as he said, they're representing Tipperary now, and as well as representing the church, they're representing Tipperary in Munster. And, you know, he alluded to that Tip in the county scene, they're at the top of the pinnacle now, they're at the pinnacle. And it's important for, you know, club teams to show what Tip clubs are made of, because he sort of alluded to, you know, Ballinhassig were massive favourites going into that game yesterday, and I think the illusion was that, you know, the Cork Championship was a better quality championship than Tipperary, and
I don't know about that.
They took all that on board, and you know they had to fight. There was no question about it, but the main thing was they were always able to keep their nose in front, and they didn't let. Once you didn't let, you know, if Ballinhassig at any stage, I think in that game they had got a goal, God only knows what would have happened. You know what I mean? But as I said, the church very, very, very strong in defence. Yeah, well, we wish them well. They're going to be playing O'Callaghan Mills of Clare in the Munster final in 2 weeks' time. Thanks for your time. I got to fly. That's in 5 o'clock on Saturday the 29th in the Gaelic grounds in Limerick. Thank you for that, my friend. Good man. Thank you. That's John O'Shea. All right, Roland. Cheers, take care, and thanks for the update. That's John O'Shea joining us there. So much to cover tonight. Congratulations to Mairead Evanston on winning Tipperary's only Camogie All-Star when the All-Star Awards were handed out in Dublin at the weekend. It must be a hell of an All-Star team if Karen Kennedy can't get into it, that's all I'd say. And just before I move off hurling altogether, you have to say, I don't know if anyone saw this, but Under 21 South Hurling A win for St. Pat's. They've already beaten Carrickswan. Now they've beaten Mullinahone and they're into a final against Ballingarry. What a story for a relatively small hurling population over there in Dragon. Anyway, let's go to rugby. Joe Winston's on the line. Good evening to you, Joe.
How are you, Ronan?
What a game against Thomond. Top of the table clash. The teams placed 1 and 2 in the division go at it in Ardgeha, and Clonmel come out on top. Exactly what you wanted.
Oh, 100%, yes. We stuck to the task. We never gave up. Thomond, as you would expect, put up a tremendous performance, and they took an early lead off us. But if we hit back straight away and we never gave up, even when we went 2 scores down, we stuck to the task. We were unlucky, but the referee had deemed we weren't over the line a couple of times. We're fairly adamant we were, but to be fair to him, he did give us a penalty try to give us the lead at one point.
Yeah, but, Jack Walsh and Brandon Delicato were your try scorers. It seems like Brandon's on a rich vein of form. I mention his name most weeks.
Yeah, he's flying at the moment. Of course, now he is the hooker, and a lot of the moves that we see with Dan Sheehan.
Yeah, he's doing a Dan Sheehan on it. Yeah.
But the thing is, he's taking the chances. He's doing what he's asked of him, and he's delivering for us.
Yeah. You still stay in second position just because you've the same record now as Thomond. They have a few more bonus points than ye. But the confidence that's winning is a habit. I've said it already about Upperchurch, but I get this sense that winning is becoming a habit now for Clonmel in that division.
Yeah. The thing is that everybody's sticking together. And it doesn't matter who we're playing. Now, we did have one bad game this season. That was the second one away to Dolphin. But we picked up some bad injuries that day, so nobody's to blame for that.
That was the famous 4G pitch, I know that. Who's next, Joe? Who's next?
We've got Middleton away on Saturday week.
Okay.
And then we've got Brough at home and then Bective away.
They're all tough. Middleton 4th, Brough 6th, Bective 3rd. They're all good clashes. Yeah. Listen, Joe, continued success to you. Great win for Clonmel in Division 2C of the AIL. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Ronan.
No problem. Joe Winston there. If you can get to any of those games, Cashel were involved as well. They had a big lead but got pegged back, I think, by Ballymena, and Nina Ormond continued their search for their first win of the year. Big second half comeback by Ballymena. They were 20-0 down, but they won 29-23 at home to Cashel, while Nina still looking for their first points after they lost at home to Ballynahinch 24 points to 3. Our text number again, 083 311 3311. Let's go to David Byrnes, who should be on the line to talk to us about Tipperary Racecourse. How are you, David?
I'm very well, Ronan. How are you?
I'm really well. David, what does this mean for Tipperary Racecourse in the medium to long term future? Because they've been talking about an all-weather track in Tipperary for a long time. Dundalk got one. There was talk of Tipperary having one for ages. Was it funding or what was it, and why has it happened now?
Look, I presume there was a lot of different things going on behind the scenes. Funding obviously was a huge part of it. The funding has been released and agreed, and it's great news. Look, it's massive for the trainers with flat horses in the region, because a lot of them trainers around Tipperary, Munster area, were travelling to Dundalk on a regular basis, and it was a huge undertaking, to take horses to Dundalk, to the far side of the country. So to have this all-weather facility now in Tipperary is going to be huge, and I think it'll bring even further opportunities for trainers within the area as well, to have maybe more horses in training, because with this facility on their doorstep, it's just going to be massive for the entire area. And it's going to be a great facility as well for, not alone the racing, but it's going to bring huge opportunity for, people for nights out, coming out from Limerick, and having the train station. There's so much great opportunity with the news that this is going to bring, and I think it's massive for the area.
Presumably, the big advantage is that, you'll get good quality racing year round.
Yeah, the reality about the good quality racing is, horses need to race somewhere.
Yeah.
And, yes, it'll be good racing, but there'll be a lot of opportunity as well for, the lesser grade of horse. Look, every Friday night in Dundalk, you don't have top class racing every week, but it's an opportunity for horses and trainers with horses to get runs into them, and to be able to do that and to have that facility now in Limerick Junction will be absolutely amazing. And as I said, lots of the trainers who have been travelling up and down to Dundalk, they may still do so, but when that's on your doorstep,
why would you?
You're going to be why would you? That's the thing. So, and I still think there's there's this discussion whether it's going to have an effect on Dundalk. I think there's still plenty of horses both sides of the M50, for both facilities.
But I'm getting the impression what you're saying, that this is going to inject quite a lot into the nighttime economy, in that, yes, race goers will go, but it could actually widen the appeal of going to racing on a Friday night.
Yes, absolutely. And you must remember as well, to have an all-weather course where it's going to be positioned at Tipperary Racecourse, geographically, you've got a train station beside it, you've a hotel and a golf course across the road. There's massive opportunity for everyone really to work together to make this a massive success. It's going to be huge for as I said, the racegoers in the Munster area to have the option to go to an all-weather meeting, to have your party night. There's so many knock-on benefits to this that's going to be huge for the area. There's going to be more staff employed at the track with extra racing, and there's going to be more people coming to enjoy the facility, and it's just really the best news, I think, for Tipperary that it's gotten quite a while.
Finally, when will we see the ribbon cut on this?
Yeah, look, obviously, they're expecting 2027, I would imagine, would be realistic if they can get things up and running. Look, you never know, but hopefully they can get it up and running in 2027, and it'll be a welcome happening if it will happen. It's just you never know, but how long it's going to take. It's hard to put an exact date on it, but I would imagine 2027 would be realistic.
Good news story. Another good news story after Thurles got a staged meeting recently. So, Tipperary gets its day in the sun. David, as always, thanks for giving us that analysis.
No problem, Roland.
Take care. Thanks indeed. Dave Byrnes there with that news of the all-weather track announcement for Tipperary Racecourse. Lots of local soccer to talk about, lots of soccer in general to talk about. Barry Ryan's on the line.
How are you, Ronan?
I'm calmed down after yesterday at 4 o'clock, but I'll come to that in due course. Let's start by talking about the Munster Junior Cup. And Peak Villa will have huge... God almighty, this is the recurring theme of tonight's show. We talk about Loughmore Castleiney, we talk about Clonmel Commercials, and now I'm talking about the great regrets Peak Villa will have when they woke up this morning.
Yeah, look, it's one of those. And look, they won't need anyone to tell them. You just can't lose that game. Peak Villa now are together. It's their third year under Derek. They had a year under Ted, the same group of players. One or two players have come in, but the core group of those players are together now about 8-9 years. You just cannot be beaten at home in the Munster Junior Cup, a competition that they would be among, I would say, the top 4 to try and win the competition. You can't lose at home, St. George's. And Away down in Limerick, it could be a bit of a sticky wicket, but not at home. And the real disappointing thing for them was conceding again in injury time when they're 2-1 up. Because I saw them, I was up at the game against Villa Waterford in the Munster Champions Cup, and they home and hosed an unbelievable win. And they were defending a corner, and the ball broke the edge of the box, and Adam Conway was standing on his own at the edge of the box and buried it, and they're done in extra time. The year before that, they played Fairview Rangers in the last 16 of the Munster Junior Cup. Another historic win. Peak Villa were a goal up, gone deep into injury time, and conceded in injury time, and lost that game in extra time. So it's a recurring team that they've got to look at. Why are they so open and getting caught with late goals? I went to the game a few weeks ago in Cook Park, and Peak Villa were 3-1 up against 10 men. Michaels were completely ragged trying to chase a 2-goal deficit and down a man. And there was 15 minutes to go, 10-15 minutes, and Peak Villa were trying to take the ball to the corner with ample time and opportunity to get another goal. And all of a sudden then, Michaels pulled one back, and in the 93rd minute, David Slattery missed a header from 3 yards to get the 10-minute draw. As in, they're open all the time, so they've got to look at this.
Well, Geraldines are, I think, closer to the bottom of the Limerick League than they are to the top, while it's a reverse for Peak. I thought this was... there's no gimmies against the Limerick Premier League side, but if you're going to face one, that wasn't the worst opposition they could have conjured.
No, absolutely not. Boris O'Hanlon was playing for them. He's 35, 36 at this stage. He's there giving them a year at the end of his career, having been with Pike. Kevin Barry is again another fellow who's 36, 37. Keane Mitchell scored for him, but Keane Mitchell couldn't make the Peak Villa team last year. It's a team that Peak Villa are significantly better than. And the other thing as well is, these things can happen in cup football. And my point would really be, it's a really disappointing result, but the be-all and end-all for Peak Villa is to win the league this season. I think, and I've said it several times.
Is it though? Look at who they've recruited, right? They've taken 3 players, I think, from Celtic, John O'Brien from Care, Kieran Fitzpatrick from Cashel. These are good players that they've kind of... they've recruited heavily.
Was a huge loss at the weekend. But they have recruited heavily. But I mean, you're talking about they've only won, 3 league titles in their 50-year history. So winning the league is the be-all and end-all. They've never won a Munster Junior Cup or an FBI Junior Cup. And I think, to be honest, if Derek McCann steers the club to another league title, I think he's done a brilliant job. And I think he is doing a brilliant job. It's just whatever it is, they just have to figure out how can we just finish out these games. It might be something simple as what we're going to do going forward with 10 minutes to go and we're 2-1 up. We're going to change the shape. We're going to go 4-box-2, and we're going to be really, really compact. So we're going to go 4-5-1, whatever it is. But they need to come up with a scenario to say, look, this is an Achilles heel for us. And this is what we're going to do in this scenario when it happens again. I'd be putting Dale down back left back as soon as I'm in a winning position to shut the game down. But I would say if they win the league, which they're favourites to do at the moment, it's a brilliant season.
Okay, we'll see how that goes into the second half of the year, but they will be disappointed to go out of the Munster at this stage. Congratulations to Clonmel Celtic. They completed the criteria for an FAI Club Mark entry-level award. The FAI Club Mark is an award for grassroots clubs based on best practice in their governance, management and administration. Fair play to Clonmel Celtic for even putting their name forward for that and also getting the reward for that. Wilderness Rovers 1, Broadford 3. Unlucky for Wilderness, but Broadford again, Premier League side inside Limerick.
Yeah, look, it was always going to be a tough ask. They've been really strong side in Limerick Desmond League. Wilderness actually were 1-0 up in that game, very competitive, but I suppose they were on the verge of history, getting to the last 16 for the first time ever. I think when they reflect on it, being in the open draw was still significant achievement, and their big thing now is can they get promoted?
Yeah, absolutely. The Shield saw V Rovers go down to Avenue while Mullinahone put 6 past St Nicholas United. There was obviously unplayable pitches all over the county as well this particular weekend. Before I let you go, Barry, I got the impression from yesterday's events in the Puskás Arena in Hungary that for a lot of younger people who didn't remember Italia 90 or Stuttgart in 88 or USA 94, they were living on memories that older fellas like myself and yourself were telling them. But it was so good that 20-year-olds saw what how unifying and how uplifting an Irish soccer victory can be.
Oh, it's just whatever it is about Irish soccer, it just brings the whole country together.
It absolutely does, in a way that no other sport does. Because if Sligo win the All Ireland, I'd be delighted for them, but I'd be only delighted for them for 5 minutes. I don't have skin in the game. You know what I mean?
And I'm like you, Ronan. I love rugby, I love hurling, I love all the sports. But whatever it is, even like I sat on the couch and I was with my 6-year-old. He was watching the game with me, and I suppose it was like, I don't know how much of it he'll remember in years to come, but it was like we've had McAteer against Holland, we've had Houghton in Stuttgart, it was almost reminiscent of Quinn flicking the ball on for
Robbie Keane against Germany, yeah.
You know, and it was like for him, like, you know, for the kids and everything, as some of the older people who haven't had that, they got that unbelievable moment, and then it's Troy Parrott from Sheriff Street, and it's an unbelievable story.
It is unbelievable, and I'm delighted for him. He went to Spurs when he was 17, he was on their books from 15, and it didn't work out for him. And, you know, he went to Ipswich, he went to MK Dons. Now
my favourite thing about it is, Ronan, and it's message for everybody in every single sport, is you have to be patient and wait for your chance. He wouldn't have played that game if Evan Ferguson was fit. Troy Parrott would have been on the bench. And luck is, when you take your chance, you're in the right place at the right time. He had himself mentally ready that when his chance came, he was there to take it. And I think for everybody sitting on benches and different things, your chance will come, and it's up to you then to go and take it.
Barry, as a great proponent of scoring goals in the 6-yard box, he made that run. He took a gamble. He was in the right place at the right time, wasn't he?
Is my favourite thing about the whole thing is, as the ball is travelling, he gambles that Liam Scales will win the header, and we don't see enough of that anymore. Great strikers are great optimists. They always believe that the ball is going to drop to them.
Yeah, you know, it's great for grassroots football as well. I got sent a photograph of great Paddy Turner doing linesman at a youth game, aged 82, in the rain on Saturday. And for all people like him and people like him all over the country, it's just great.
I know I'm biased, but I've never met anybody better in football than Paddy.
Yeah, there's so many. There's lots of Paddy Turners around, but he's one of a kind. But there's lots of them around, and you know, they get their day in the sun as well, which is really, really good. Barry, I could talk to you about chew over that for a while, but we'll have to go. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks a million, Ronan.
Not at all, Barry Ryan there. But football, TSDL and international. That's all we've time for tonight. Ian O'Connor produced. Good night and good luck.
Extra Time on Tip FM is brought to you by Irish Computers Nina, your winning IT partner across the Premier County and beyond. See irishcomputers.ie.
Online,
on your smartphone,
on your smart speaker,
play Tip FM.
And it's 8 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Aidan Delaney. The PSNI has launched an